Well, thank you all for staying for the most part. This is, I think, one of the best blocks of films we have at the festival. And they're all quite poetic, to be honest with you. They explore issues that are vital of the moment. And also, we want you to know that the award that Erin won for her film, This Little Land of Mines, is something that is called the Clio Visualizing History Prize for the advancement of women in film. And it goes to a woman filmmaker who basically boldly explores either a person or an event of historical significance. And if you're looking at that film, I hope you understand why we chose to give this award to you. Congratulations. I believe there are going to be quite a few questions. Why don't we just do a quick trip around for, if you wouldn't mind, sort of the origin story of your film, how you got engaged with the film, and what propelled you then to make the film. I think in your case we're going to know, but why don't you start, Erin, and give the audience a sense of how it all happened for you.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Erin Ramirez, yes.
Thank you for being here today. It means a lot to us filmmakers. Very thankful to be up here with such talented filmmakers as well. The genesis of this story came, I was a senior at USC out in LA, and I took a documentary class, and we had to pitch a story, and at the time I was really interested in the issue of immigration. My mother, she immigrated to the US from Jamaica when she was 10 years old. And I'm originally from New Hampshire, so I was out in LA, and all this stuff was going on in the news, and it really frustrated me that was the first time that I ever heard of issues like this. It's common to a lot of people out in LA, so when we talked about it in class, it wasn't too foreign of a topic, but for me it was. And I think that frustration, being from an immigrant family and not knowing, was what really fueled me to make the film. And so I came in one day in class and I talked to my professor and I was like, I really want to make this film. I have no idea what it's going to be about or who it's about. I just want to make it. So we ended up reaching out to around 100 people and different articles that are published in the LA Times. And then we were connected to our character, Evelyn, through one of the producers on the film. Evelyn was a part of this program at UCLA called Dream Summer at the time, which is a program for undocumented students who are pursuing med school. So we got connected to her through that program. And we talked about the consequences of her kind of coming to terms with being in a documentary, and she really wanted to speak out. She wanted to put her story out there, regardless of the consequences. So we ended up following her, and her sisters agreed on it as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Qian Li,
Yes.
Middlebury class of 19.
So this one is actually my thesis project.
Can't hear.
This one is actually my thesis project. I did I wrote the narration as part of the creative writing project and the film as the film project. I think it was about 2 years ago in the summer, I learned for the first time that my grandfather had a different name when he was born. And that was really got me to think, like, I've known him for the past 20 years. And this was my first time thinking like, oh, he had a different name. And I started to think my relation with him and think he has a different story that I don't know. And because I also made a decision at the end of my sophomore year to decide that I would go by my Chinese name in the States rather than an English name. So I feel like there's definitely something about identity and name. So I thought when he changed his name or made that decision for him, it must have meant something for him to decide his own identity. So I thought it would be nice to discover that and question his story and my discovery about him. And it was also my thesis, so I wanted to do something that's, meaningful to my family, because I came here to the States for my education, and it seems a little distant from, because my family is in China, and I'm here. So I kind of want to make a bridge in between, and that's why I kind of make this project.
Okay, thank you.
That's really good.
Erin McGoff.
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in your film, but I'd like to just start with how you became aware of this situation, horrendous as it is, and then sort of the process of engaging and making a film of this quality.
Definitely, yeah. I can try and condense it. But basically, I was in college at American University, and I came across this pamphlet that said it was advertising an academic program in Laos studying unexploded ordnance and these 80 million bombs, and how the U.S. bombed Laos more heavily per capita than any country in the world. And I was like baffled because I'd never heard about this war before, and I'd actually been to Laos in high school with my family very briefly, and it was the most peaceful place I'd ever been in my life. I couldn't believe it. I remember I called my parents and I was like, "Did you know about this?" And they were like, "No, that's crazy." And so I was like, I gotta get into this program. So I wiggled my way into this academic program as a film major. It was not for film majors. I begged them, and I just dove into the topic. I became completely obsessed, and I just studied it. I went and did field research in Laos, and I became very academically involved in the issue. And then when I was there, just a series of things happened that made me realize, I need to make this movie. If I don't, who will? And I realized, as a young American and as somebody who knows how to wield the most powerful medium on earth, it would be actually unethical if I didn't make this movie. It got to that point. So I got home from Laos and I just got to work. I was like, I'm gonna make this big movie. It's gonna be a feature. I was 21. I was like, it's gonna be a feature. It's gonna be really pretty. I'm gonna use my favorite score composer, which I did. And I was like, it's gonna be gorgeous, and it's gonna be about Lao people. And it's not gonna be about the war. It's not gonna be about bombs. It's not gonna be about foreign policy. It's gonna be about the amazing humanity displayed in these people because they're so optimistic and they're so resilient.
But
it
didn't become a feature. It became a documentary.
Well, a feature documentary, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not a fiction film. I didn't want to do that. But yeah, that's basically the short version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in your film. Let's just go right to the audience. I'm sure people have questions. Yes?
Okay, the film shows they're looking for funding to continue this program. Why isn't the Trump administration that wants to make America great again fund what we've done? In my mind, this is unconscionable what we did. It started in '64. It wasn't on Kennedy. It was Johnson and Nixon lied. He said we didn't have troops there, but he doesn't go on to say we're bombing the hell out of these people. Are we funding, and are we continuing to fund? Are we actually funding more? Do you know that?
Yeah, so two ways to answer that question. The first thing is the $90 million that was pledged by the Obama administration. Obama didn't wake up and say, I'm going to pledge $90 million to Laos. A very determined group of people pushed a bill through Congress, and that's how that money got there. And that was completely strategic by the Obama administration. The second thing is that the president doesn't determine that money. The $90 million is up, and who knows how that was used, honestly. I mean, I've heard mixed things, but it was used for research. They couldn't use it to buy new Jeeps or new metal detectors. Unfortunately, that's what they really need. They really need engineers and manpower. They need things that, they need money, but they also need other things so desperately. And
Money buys most of these things.
yeah, no, it does, but they need innovation. They need people to innovate a new way to find UXO and destroy them for sure. And I think that's a good way that the U.S. could contribute in addition to funds. The $90 million is up, so I think we're back to contributing about $10 million a year. And the way that we will get more money to Laos is by supporting organizations that are lobbying Congress to include that in the budget. So a good organization is actually run by somebody in this room. Susan Hammond is here, and she runs War Legacies Project right here in Vermont. And she is the expert. She should be up here instead of me talking about this. So if any of you are interested in supporting this issue and you're from Vermont, go talk to Susan, go to War Legacies Project on Google, and figure out what you can do. If it's writing to your senator, which I heard the Vermont senator is really supportive of this issue. Yeah?
It's because of Leahy. I mean, Leahy, the reason that there was that 90 million is because Senator Leahy is very behind this issue. And he, particularly his staffer, Tim Reeser, who works in the foreign appropriations, he is key. Without Leahy, and I'm nervous because Leahy's not going to be around for much longer.
Yeah,
so we really are getting more senators behind this as well. So it's a
Yeah, Susan's the person you guys all need to talk to about that question, definitely. Yeah, good question.
Who else has a question? Yes, Beatrice.
This is for Erin. So I was wondering about what was your approach like finding all these different people in Laos, getting them to tell their story, especially to an American,
For sure.
and respecting the process and.
You have a translator too.
Oh, yeah, no, I knew that Lao people weren't going to open up to me, as especially a white American. I knew that from my research and just hanging out with them. So I knew that I had to, and I wanted to, hire 100% Lao people to be my crew, because this is a culture that I would never be able to understand, no matter how much time I spent there. I didn't even try to learn the language. I mean, I did, but I suck at it. It's terrible. So I hired a crew in Laos, and I don't know where they came from. I swear God just gave them to me, because Laos is an extremely impoverished country, and there just happened to be this beautiful little production company that could do amazing things like this. And I had 2 Lao people, and then 2 European expats work with me. And yeah, my co-producer Ka, who's Lao, he's Hmong actually, he did all of the translating and kind of the developing the relationships, and I kind of sat right behind him and whispered things into his ear. So that's kind of how I got in. And they actually, once I got some funding, which was very difficult, I paid them, I stayed in America and I paid them to go on a location scout. And I kind of told them, this is what I'm looking for, and they were like, yeah, that sounds good. And they were a little weary at first, because other documentarians have come to Laos, and they've tried to make this movie, and they've either, not finished, or they didn't get it right, or it was too political. And I was like, no, I'm, not trying to make a political movie. I'm trying to make a movie about you and about the people and the humanity. And they were they got on board. They found all of the people in the film and kind of developed a relationship with them. And then I came over to Laos, and we, hit the road for a few weeks and filmed all those interviews.
Other questions? Yes.
The cinematography is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So my director of photography, his name is Cyril Le Burlet, and he is a French-German man of the world. I think he lives in Singapore right now, and he's just stupid talented. I mean, I don't know how I found him, but I'm working with him on a project right now. He's very, very talented. And then Ka, the Lao filmmaker, is kind of a mentee of him, and he's also very talented. He was the second camera, so a lot of the shots are his. But yeah, I just got really lucky. They were very talented people, for sure.
Yes, other questions? All right, I'll go back. What is the status of the family now? You completed your film when? And what is the status of the family now?
We began 2017 in the fall. So that we shot for about 8 months, and then editing took about another year. So we just finished up about last year, in the winter.
Is there an update you could share about the family?
So it wasn't completely clear in the family, but there are 9 family members.
Yes.
So the 2 parents were deported. The father was barred for 10 years. The mother was barred for life. So their plan right now is to wait the 10 years, reapply. The father's going to reapply for U.S. citizenship, claiming his family as dependent. And then once, hopefully, he gains citizenship, he can claim his wife. When they got deported, they had to make the decision. They have 2 younger children who are also undocumented. So they had to make the decision of leaving those 2 children in the U.S. to be supported by the daughters or take them back with them. So they ended up bringing them back. So they're about 15 now. They were 12 when we were shooting. And they're hoping to gain citizenship as well. Evelyn, she is currently in med school. Angie, she is in school as well. She actually just had her first child, and she's working part-time. And then the 3 other sisters
Who is a
are
U.S.
also
citizen?
working. Yeah. So Evelyn's the only one who's undocumented in the U.S. The other 2 are back in Mexico.
Okay, thank you. So John, on your film, this was shot when you went back to see your family most recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what do you think is next for you? You're here, are you planning on going back to China, or are you staying here and continuing your growth as a filmmaker?
I'm working at the college as a film assistant this year, and to help other students to grow and succeed. But I'm hoping to, long-term wise, I think I'll go back to China, because I think the stories I want to tell will be in China, and it's about the Chinese people. But I would love to work on stories that about like people coming abroad from China, and especially in the States, because I had living experience here, and I've seen like my friends, international friends, who we have like different struggles over the years, and I think it will be interesting to work on stories like that.
Do you have any sense of whether China is a hospitable place for filmmaking, or are there quite a few barriers put in in one's way?
I think this year has been extremely difficult because with the situation now in Hong Kong, I'm sure we all read about that. And I was interning at a Chinese production company this summer, and what I heard is that this year it's extremely difficult for them to propose new stories, new TV shows to get approved. The ones that only got approved are either situated in the current times, like love stories, that kind of thing, or about the formation of the army in China, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of restrictions this year.
Okay. Anybody have a question? Are we stimulated? Yes, Demetrius.
What did your grandfather think of the film?
He hasn't watched it. I haven't put up the subtitles in Chinese, so that's why.
Erin, I want to make just a comment about your film. Someone's already raised the beauty of it, but I also wanted to congratulate you on the mix of elements in the film. So, for instance, the mechanism you use about plane loads of bombs to punctuate the movement in the film, I thought was excellent, unusual. So that was a good way to sort of create set pieces.
Yeah.
And it moved very nicely as a result of that. Also want to say that you, in talking about it as a poetic film, there's a lot of the film in which the dialogue disappears and we're left with sort of quite beautiful views. So my question then has to do with, in putting this all together, many documentaries sometimes are quite linear, but yours is broken up with different sort of filmmaking techniques that make the documentary enjoyable. That's not quite the word I want, so I apologize.
Yeah,
but
I
you know
use
what I'm
the word
saying?
too, it's uncomfortable, yeah.
No, but it makes it digestible in
Yeah.
different ways. So just, can you give us a little thought on
For
how
sure.
that came together for you?
Yeah, I'm an editor, like full-time and director, so I edited this movie, and every edit was intentional. Yeah, I definitely thought about every single cut, was very intentional. I minored in marketing, so I kind of approached this film from a marketing point of view, and I was like, okay, who's my target audience, and how can I make a film about people who are almost opposite from them, on the opposite side of the world, about them without introducing Americans into it, because I wanted to keep it just Lao. So I had this huge challenge. And one of the things that I knew I needed to do was give people space between reading subtitles, which explains like those kind of beautiful shots. But something else that I really wanted to do was I wanted to sell Laos. Like, I didn't want to scare people away from going there. Like, everyone in this room, if you can, like, go visit this beautiful country. You can get a gourmet dinner for $5. Like, it's so cheap. And they really need tourists. And I would say that's one of the best ways that you can support Laos is by going there and spending your money in the right places. And we're actually making a sustainability tourism guide that will kind of help you, guide you through like how to make good financial choices when you visit the country. But I wanted to sell it. Like, I wanted to show the beauty of the mountains and the river and the, all the animals. And, I kind of wanted to show the beauty of the country and the people.
Okay, I think you succeeded in that. Would you please give all of our filmmakers another round of applause? A couple of housekeeping notes. Before you leave, I was completely wrong about the ballot situation. It appears that I'm in the dark about quite a few things. So there are ballots downstairs. And if you wouldn't mind, please grab one, take a few minutes, and vote on the films that you've seen today. We do have a conversation/panel going on at 4 o'clock at Town Hall Theater. As a result of some of the film switching that we had to do, the panel with Mark Masseri from First Run Features is going to happen at 4 o'clock at Town Hall. His company, First Run Features, has been in the indie film distribution business since 1979. There's a lot of history there. He's worked over 30 years. He's extremely knowledgeable. So if you're interested in wondering what happens when films of this quality gets made, who picks them up, how do they get into distribution, I think you'll find this conversation very edifying. If you're a festival pass holder or a day pass holder, we have a happy hour basically across the street at the garden of the Sheldon Museum starting at 5 o'clock. Filmmakers have a cocktail party going on right here downstairs in the cafe. And then we'll be back up with films at 7:15 tonight. Our crowds are large, so if there's a film that you really want to see, even if you're a pass holder, go early. Go 20 minutes early. I know that will make your dinner a little more clipped, but just giving you my advice on that. Okay, thank you for coming. We'll see you all.